Welcome to Shit Creek Survivors, where we share stories of resilience and tools for resilience. This episode is near death, literally. Kathy is going to take us through her near-death experience, which is a harrowing journey into hell through unimaginable fear, darkness, and trauma, and ultimately into the light of heaven, love, and profound understanding. Along the way, she's going to share lessons that changed her life, the insights she gained about humanity, and the truths about life, death, and what may lie beyond. Get ready for a story that's going to challenge everything you know about fear, faith, and the human spirit, and remind us all that even in the darkest moments, love can guide the way. They get me to the hospital. They're about to knock me out. And then one of the doctors says, you need to get a CAT scan before you do that because he got shot in the head. They find out I have Press syndrome, which means the pressure within my cranium was squeezing my brain. And so they treated me for that. But then I went into alcohol withdrawal. And so they put me in a coma. I was in alcohol withdrawal. That turned into pneumonia, which turned into double pneumonia, which turned into my right lung collapsing. I was on a ventilator for a total of 5 weeks. And during that time on that ventilator, I was in a tremendous amount of pain. I just didn't want to be there. Every time I'd kind of come to a little bit, I would try to, well, first off, they didn't have me tied down at first. So I actually pulled out, the whatever out of my mouth, I can't even think of the word right now. Yeah. So they pull that out or I pull that out and then they have to put it back in. This happens a period of a couple times because I think I'm dying every time I come to. I think I can't breathe. So I'm ripping the thing out that's blocking my airway. And again, this is all happening in a panic state. Meanwhile, I'm having PTSD dreams while in the coma. I'm in a tremendous amount of pain. I just want to die. I'm praying for it. And at some point, and I was, not connected with my family. I didn't care about my family. I just wanted to be gone. I'm sorry. I was just being super selfish. I just didn't want to be here anymore. And at some point, 2 figures came in my room. They were dressed in black. And they said, we can get you out of here if you want to come with us. And I said, absolutely. It was a man and a woman, both dressed in black suits. And I walked behind them almost out of the hospital room, and it started getting darker in front of us. And I was walking into the darkness following them. And it started getting a little scary, but they're like, no, keep coming. We got you. I know you want to get out of here. You want to get out of here, right? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And then it got all dark around us. I couldn't see them as well in front of me, but I started hearing things to my left and right. And it almost sounded like laughing but kind of scary laughing. And I said, they could almost feel my hesitation, it seemed. And they're like, come on. They're like, don't worry about it. We got you. And then these things started touching and scraping me really. And I was scared. They're like, no, keep coming. And then I get to, and I keep going. And suddenly they turn on me and they start laughing. And then I get full on assaulted from every angle possible. That physical assault turns into a sexual assault. It was so terrifying. I could feel, taste everything. And it was so bad that I just gave up. I submitted, And when that happened, it kind of got me out of that scene somehow. But now I'm almost standing in a cave that's illuminated by flickering light, like fire. And I was given the proposal, hey, you can get out of here, but you have to win this game. And it was a series of triangles stacked on top of one another in a pyramid. And you were faced off 1 versus 1. And you got put in the chambers and you faced off 1 versus 1. And what would happen is the chambers would be flooded with water, and whoever lived would go to the higher pyramid. And so I was able to get to the top pyramid because prior to that, I couldn't see the person I was really facing off against. But when I got to the last stage of the pyramid, I see this dark-haired woman drowning in front of me, And I suddenly realized I can't do this. I can't kill somebody to get out of hell. I felt so ashamed. I gave up. And suddenly I was falling into this darkness, like I was falling. And the only thing I could say was, Jesus, please forgive me. And I really, in my soul, felt like I was repenting. Like I was really like, I accept my fate. I am so sorry. I am a sinner. And right when that happened, a pinprick of light appeared. And right as that pinprick of light appeared, as you probably know, you'll know this statement more than most people I say it to. A pinprick of light in absolute darkness is piercing. It's almost like a sign of hope. And as that light got a little bit bigger, either I got closer to it or it got closer to me or both, my pain started going away, which is what I was living in constantly. My physical pain started going down. My mental pain started going down. My spiritual pain started going down. I kept feeling better. The light kept getting bigger. And suddenly I realized that I was in the light where I was free absolutely of physical, mental, or spiritual pain. It was the most relieving moment I've probably ever felt. And all I felt around me was love, the most intense, overwhelming, pure, nothing attached, like love you no matter what, just overwhelmed flood of love. And I realize that I'm holding someone's hand. I look over to my right, it's my grandma. She was my spiritual leader my whole life. She stood about maybe 5 foot tall. And I'm holding her hand and I can see her. I look in front of me and the light's so bright, I can't really see into it, but I see a golden road. I look to my left and there's gray. Then I look behind me and there's absolute darkness, but I can see people floating in the darkness and they appear to be in pain. I turn back to my grandma without moving my words. We kind of like telepathically talking. I say, how is it they're so close to where we are, where pain doesn't exist? And they don't come to, like, how is it they don't know that this exists, where pain is no longer present? And that's right when I woke up to my wife slapping me in the face, pulling me out of a 5-week coma. Because if I were to go farther than 5 weeks on a ventilator, that's when your brain starts to get lazy and you tend to, your chances of coming out of it dwindle because your brain's being forced the oxygen. So I woke up and immediately the pain was back, mental, physical, spiritual. I'm tied to a bed. I want to be out of there. I don't understand totally what's happened. And then it took me forever to even, I didn't know if it was real for the longest time. I tried to do all the work. I was like, did I die at any point? Did I flatline? You know, what was going on? Like, was there the sickest time and all this kinds of stuff? And over time, you know, just because the experience was so real, you know, I've had to analyze it, had to think about it. And it sounds like you've had sort of a similar experience. And I've heard your story on a podcast before. I can't remember what it was, but it seemed to parallel what I experienced in a way, or at least another person with a near-death experience. And I was hoping that today you could share your story with us and our audience so that they could hear this another amazing story, which what we believe in is just kind of planting seeds and hoping that, you know, people take the information and they walk off with it and they use it in their lives in a positive way and maybe even pass it on. We call it tools for the tool belt. So we share stories of resilience and tools for resilience. So the things we learned during the process of transforming our lives into something, or moving our lives back into a direction where we find purpose and find meaning and all that kind of stuff. I know that's a lot I just dumped on you, but Kathy, I am just so excited to have you on. For those of you listening, let's do a quick little bio on Kathy. So Kathy McDaniel is the author of the memoir, Misfit in Hell to Heaven Expat. While dying from lung failure in 1999. She was placed on the ventilator and put into a drug-induced coma. A distressing near death experience occurred, and although mostly traumatic, she experienced the overwhelming bliss of heaven, which shifted her religious beliefs to more deep spirituality. And I really like the next part. You credit the Society of Near Death Experiences, or what is it? It's the International Association for Near Death Studies, who actually helped you kind of take your experience and process it a little bit. And I'd love to hear about that. But really, Kathy, I would just love to hear your story
The
if you'd
floor
be
is yours.
so kind of bless us with it.
Wow, Cam, that's something that was definitely a distressing near death experience. You need to come to I will invite you to our monthly meetings via IANDS. I have a distressing near death experiencer sharing group, and there's anywhere from 10 to 20 of us that have had experiences like us. You've just told your story beautifully. How you had almost an identical one to Howard Storm. You have to look up Howard Storm and get his book. He had the
Okay.
thing with the people in black tempted him down the hall. They attacked him. They tore him to pieces. You'll love it. I mean, that was one of the few books I could find 26 years ago after I had my experience that was not all fluffy with the heaven stuff. I mean, I got to go to heaven like you did. And like you, they had to force me kicking and screaming to come back. That was
Yeah.
just nasty, throwing you out
Yeah.
after all you'd been through. So no, we are so parallel in what happened. And I'm so glad that you found me, just
Yeah.
because you can come join us and you're in good company. And no, there was nothing wrong with you. Yeah, it's okay, cool. So where do you want me to
Well, the
start?
problem is no one understands where you're coming from. Anyways, you're
That's
going to explain all
that's
that. Yeah.
it was the drugs, it was this, and it's like, no. How come after
Right.
26 years it's as clear as a bell? You know,
Right.
it doesn't go away because that took place in your soul, not in your head.
Right.
Because the
You're
truth
in
is the
a
truth,
coma.
and it comes
You don't
out.
Yeah, you don't have to flatline, man. You can be in a coma because your soul gets a little loosey-goosey and wanders off. And I've got a whole book here about comas and NDEs, and I don't agree with what they say. But anyway,
Okay.
so I had been, I don't know about you. Are you a Catholic?
I was raised Catholic, but I am not a practicing Catholic.
That's against you. That is a mark against you because I would say a good 85% or more of the people that I've interviewed that have had distressing NDEs are recovering Catholics.
Whoa.
Whoa. We are taught from day one that there's a hell. There's a purgatory and there's a hell. And the
Yeah.
purgatory is just like hell, but you get out. And we spend our whole lives doing the math game of, okay, you kissed your boyfriend, so that's 100 days in purgatory. And if you say a rosary, that's 150 days off your purgatory. And then so you're doing extra novenas, you're going extra masses, and you're making this bank account of days off purgatory. And when I got back, I thought, shoot, I must have made a mistake there. I thought I had a big chunk of days off, but I guess not, because I was there for what I, felt like 2 years. And I thought, damn, I got to work on this
Yeah.
one from home. But anyway, that is probably the starting point for why you probably were there, because we manifest things. There's free will, right?
Yeah.
So God, you experienced God, which is all love,
Yeah.
all loving, all forgiving.
Yeah.
You didn't get a life review. You weren't there long enough either, but I didn't either.
No.
But the life review is where they show you from front to back your entire life. And I'm supposed to be very, interesting and all, bring popcorn. And then they turn it all around. And then you get to experience what it was like to interact with you. So every time, from day one, if you were nice to the little kid next door, you got to feel how happy he was. If you took his fire truck and he was crying, oh, you're going to feel that. So you just go through your life like that. It's not a judgment. It's just we're here to experience. We choose to come down and learn all this stuff. And it's our report card, but you can't fail. So
Right.
that's kind of how that runs. But if you have the upbringing that we did and you believe it with all your heart, like I did, possibly you, then somehow when I got to the other side, I expected purgatory and there wasn't one, so
Mm,
I made it. And if you may have the same experience, mine came in segments. And I can go back now after 26 years of thinking about it and processing and find that actual horrible thing happened in my life that I then took and made into part of my hell. And I
okay.
can go back, I can trace them all back. I mean, the first one, I'm skipping around here, but when I first got to hell, I'll back up. I'll do the whole bit. I was taking care of my ex-fiance, who had to have two caregivers to go to Seattle and have the research hospital try and save him from leukemia. It didn't work. Long story short, we were there 9 months instead of the 2 or 3 they told us. I was so run down and freaked out when he died. I was 52. He was 53, and I caught a
I'm so
horrible
sorry.
flu. Yeah, well, he's in. The story gets better.
Mhm.
I saw him in heaven. Um,
Okay, good.
yeah, it was so cool. So anyway, I got super sick and they didn't know what to do with me. I had ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. The syndromes don't react to antibiotics, so they throw you in the coma, say we're going to do everything we can to save you, but you got a 38% chance of making it. The family's there, you better say goodbye. So
Wow.
I had like this much time to figure it. They traked me. And then the last thing the guy said is, okay, we're going to give you this sedative. You will be
Mhm.
unable to remember anything that happens to you. And you're just going to go into this deep sleep. Okay. Luck. Maybe we'll see you. Maybe we won't. Said goodbye to the
Right.
folks. It was New Year's Eve. I remember the ball going down and I left. 1999
Wow.
to 2000. So anyway, I was gone, and then I woke up, and it's pitch black. That's the void, okay? That's the void. A lot of people end up first there. You kinda go, "Where am I? What's going on? How did I get here?" And then I started hearing, like, moaning and shrieking, and then it got kinda reddish glow with a fog swirling, and I thought, "Ah, this isn't good. This is not good." And then all of out of this fog comes this maniacal person saying, Do you know where you are?" And
Oh,
Catholic,
wow.
hell? Wha- I ran into the darkness. It's dark again. My heart- You don't know you're dead, right?
Right.
Because your soul, the body is not us. So I'm still thinking, oh my God, what do I do? And whew, all these lights come up and it's really, really bright. And all I see is this bombed out city, man. It's like New York or something. And buildings have fallen down. There's fires, just people running and screaming back and forth. And, all of a sudden I'm in this scene and I thought, holy crap, I gotta, find some place to hide. So I kind of tucked down in and there's these weird kind of people things kind of coming out of the dark with red eyes and they're just staring at me and I thought, what's up with that? And then this big clunky thing goes by with making noise and I thought maybe it was an alien ship. I thought, what the, what's going on? And I thought, well, if I can get inside a building, maybe I'll see some other people, might be something to drink and eat. This is going to be bad. So I'm running through the concrete. I'm leaping over stuff and I go up this piece of concrete. I'm holding on to rebar. And all of a sudden, my hands start falling backwards. And I thought, wow, this is going to hurt. And lights go out. Lights come on. Now what? I'm looking around. Oh my God. There's this big, like hairy Yeti thing standing in front of me. And I thought, what? And I'm looking up, 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 and it's this face, and he's got his big club in it. And I thought, oh, I'm in trouble now. And he says, do you want to get out of here? And I thought, wow, no accent or anything. I didn't expect English. I expected a "Rawr, rawr, rawr." So I said, yes. And he says, I got a job for you. You get it done. I'll see you get out. I thought, well, this is weird, but I'm going to go for it. So I says, what do you want done? I don't want to get the guy upset. And he waves his arm and his lights come up. And as far as I can see is all these blackberry vines. as far as you can see, thousands of them. They're all intertwined. They got this, here in Washington and other places, these things grow, and you go out and you try and cut them down, rip them out. It's hell. So anyway, I said, yeah. And he says, you just cut all that down for me. I'll see you get out. And then he hands me these little paper cutting scissors I give kindergarten people and starts to belly laugh. And I looked at him and I thought, that's not funny. And I thought, okay, I'm a survivor. This guy's a creep. I'll play his silly little game. I don't see any other way out of here. So I bend down. I'm getting all scratched up and I'm kind of gnawing on this darn cane, trying to get it off. I finally get it off and I go to put it behind me. And when I turn back around, it grows all the way back. This guy's laughing. He thinks it's so funny. Then I got mad and I thought, okay, and I started cutting again and the lights went out. Lights came up. Now where am I? It's like this hospital or something. Big white walls, white ceiling, white floor, and there's a door on either side of me. Again, you're like, okay, I can do this. And I look down at the end of the hall, way down there, and there's another one of these big hairy guys down. This time he's got like a truncheon. You remember all these details 26 years later. And it's like the way they beat crowds with police people. Didn't know what that looks
Mm,
like. So I'm
yeah.
thinking, oh, crap, another one. So I thought, do I go to the right? Do I go to the left? And I turn around and he's that fast in front of me. He says, you got
Okay.
another job. Now what? He says, okay, all you got to do is you go in that room. They're going to give you stuff. You bring it out in the hall. You go across this room and you just lay it down. You come in, I'll watch it. You're going in there, going out. That's your job. And I thought, well, all right, I can do this. Maybe if I get out of this guy's sight, I'll go in there and there'll be a door or some people, and I can find my way out of here. Because still, I'm alive. I was so
Right.
I would go in there and I look around, and there's like gurneys, white gurneys, covered gurneys with bodies or people on them, and the legs are splayed. And I think, and there's a person on a stool and in front of there looking at, and I thought, what the heck's going on here? And one of the doctors raises his bloody gloved hand, and I'm just staring, and he turns around and yells, "Get over here!" So I get over. Put your arms out. So I put my arms out, and he's been doing an abortion on this poor woman, and so he slaps what's left of this desiccated baby in my hands. Well, I worked for pro-life when I was home. This was not something I would enjoy. So and he says, "Get out of here." So I go out in the hall and I look at this monster, and he says, "The other room." So I go in the other room and it's like a Costco, all empty except for piles, huge piles of these babies. They're killing these babies. And so I'm I'm horrified out of my mind. So I put this poor little thing down and I go back in the hall and the guy says, "Back to work." And I said, "No, I'm not going to do that." He's, "What?" And I says, "No, I'm not going to do that. That's disgusting. It's wrong and I won't." And he lifts that thing up and I don't care. Hit me. I don't care. And he says, "It's just going to get worse." And the lights went out. The lights come up. Thinking, no. So now, every now and then, I would be on this long road. It went left and right, no signs. The horizon was just like on the moon, just maybe piles of rocks. And then there was like this reddish glow at the end, like a fire is coming up over the side. And there's no trees, no nothing. It's dusk. There's no moon, no stars. I still don't know I'm dead. I'm just thinking, where in that, where am I now? So I thought, you go to the right when you get on the freeway. So I just start walking on this damn road. And I thought, well, at least I can turn all the way around and see if one of these demons is creeping up on me. I don't know where I'd go to, hide, but at least I had a feeling that maybe it wasn't imminent that I was going to get attacked again. So on the road, I met several groups of you know scenes on either side of the road. One of the first ones was one of my relatives. I'm one of the few people that has seen live people in this area. So
Okay.
there's a lady doing a book on it. So there's my niece that I love that's crazy about me. And there's this man sitting on the other side watching her in a chair. And she's fixing this banquet of food and it smells so good. I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, I'm tired. And there's piles of all these. She's a really good cook. All this food. And she's dressed kind of funny. And I looked at her and I said her name. And she looked at me like, "What?" And I said, "I am so hungry, and if you could just get me a little plate and a glass of water, anything, I'll take it. I'm so hungry." And she said, "This is for the important people."
Wow.
Ooh, zing. That hurt. And I kinda looked around and I said, "Oh, well, sorry to bother you," got back on the road. So, again, I'll stay on the road because the rest was weird, and, uh, like you, I saw these zombie kind of people up above.
Mhm.
It's dark, and they're all in rags, and they're muttering, and they're dragging their feet, and they're bumping into one another, and they're in the middle of my road. So I'm afraid to get off the road because I don't know where that's gonna go. So I thought,
Mhm.
"Okay, I've seen enough zombie movies. I'll just kinda mutter and drag one foot and just kinda wander through. Maybe they won't, realize that I'm knowing them." So I get about halfway through. There's 20 of them. Women have these shawls. You can't see their eyes, and they all froze. And I thought, "Uh-oh." And so I froze too. And then I thought, "Oh, they've seen me." So the women kinda form in this circle, and the women were on the outside and the men were on the inside, and they started in, and one of 'em punched me in the chest, and I fell down, and the other one kicked me, and then, the gang rape thing. So, then they finally backed up. I'm screaming, nobody can help me, and, this demon lady's looking at me, and she said, "Get up. You're with us." So I just kinda grabbed my clothes and put them back as far best I could and stood up, and there's this other group of, probably 10 other women like me. They've gone through it. And she says, "Okay, come on, get in order, get in line." And we're just kinda frazzled. We don't know what's going on, and so we get in line, and it had been so dark, and all of a sudden, it's too bright, and it's like, as far as I can see is snow. It's like a tundra, and it starts snowing. It starts snowing. We got these rags on. God, we're so cold. Cold as hell is real a thing. And so we're in this line, and all I remember is walking, 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 walking this interminable amount of time. And all of a sudden, I'm looking up at us walking, and what started off as just snow on the ground is now chest high. We've been walking that long in the snow, and there's this like trail where we're going. And we finally come to this horrible looking shack, and the windows are blown out, and the door's hanging off, and it's no insulation. She opens up the door and gets us all inside there, and we sit down, sit down, sit on the floor, and we're kind of all huddled up, shivering, and she says, "Okay, now we wait for customers." We all go, "Oh, thought this couldn't get any worse," you know? And then, she was a demon lady. She had a stick too. And, I thought, I'm pissed off at this point. I don't know where I am, but I know this is not the place I'm supposed to be. This is not good. I'm not sure I'm gonna get out now. I'm starting to lose hope. And so, but I was mad. So I said, "What's going on? I've been here a long time, and it seems a particularly nasty down day. Something going on I don't know about." And she says, "Pff, well, it's Christmas on Earth. That's always the worst day in hell."
Oh, wow.
Hell? Oh, no. Then I really got mad. I thought, wait a minute, I did all the things I'm supposed to do. I'm a Catholic the whole bit. There's been a mistake. So I said, to myself, "Well, I know what'll get her." So I start singing a Christmas carol, "Away in a Manger." I thought this'll get her. So away in a manger, and she looks at me from across the room. She says, "Oh, shut up." And I said, "No crib for his bed." Now the other ladies start singing because they see she's all pissed off. And I said, I got to the little Lord, and she jumped at me like a spider. And I closed my eyes and I thought, well, at least I'll get out of here and get someplace else. But like you, Cam, whoosh, all of a sudden this incredible bliss and love and tumbling in this fluffy, sparkly love, and nothing else matters. I mean, nothing. You don't remember anything except this gorgeous love and acceptance and peace and happiness. Everything you've anything you've ever enjoyed in your life times a million. and you're just floating, and all of us, just after a while, I thought, oh, I never want to leave this. I just want to stay here. And it kind of solidifies a little bit, and I float down, and the walls are white, kind of like being in a cathedral, but no windows or icons or crosses or anything. And I'm just happy, and I'm looking around, and oh my gosh, there's my friend Pat, who died the month before. And you die of leukemia, you look pretty bad, but he looked great. And
Mhm.
instead of 53, he looked about 35. His hair's not great. It's brown. He's got a sweater on I gave him for Christmas. He's happy. He's jumping from one foot to the other. He knows a secret, right? And we were always playing tricks on each other. So I thought, what's he up to? And I thought, oh my God, he doesn't know he's dead. I don't want to be the one to tell him. Now he just
Mhm.
belly laughs. He thinks that's hilarious. And I thought, wait a minute, it's coming to me now. If he's dead, then I'm dead. And this is the best news ever. All right. I'm so excited. I said, why are we just standing here? And then I remember I'd kind of looked over to the right, and there was this table with this huge book on it. It was open about halfway, and he'd been showing me something in there. And all I could remember was saying, oh no, that's going to be too hard. I want to stay here with you. And so he comes up, and this is in my mind, and I'm looking at him like, oh no, come on. And you know how emotional you get on this. He gets so mad. So he
Yeah.
said, now, Mary Kay, you've got too much left to do.
Oh,
So they're, they're throwing me out. I said, no, no, no. Boom, the lights go out, right? I go through a little timeout thing where I'm walking by this stream. I think God said, oh, we can't send her back now. She's too mad. So anyway, the lights come up, and there's people milling around, and I can't move, and I'm hot. And I thought, oh crap, I'm back in hell again. And then
Mhm.
this woman turns around and says, oh, Mom's back. I thought, huh? It's my daughter. And she comes over and she sits down. She's, oh, Mom, you've been in a coma for 3 weeks. We didn't think you were going to make it. My mother says, oh my God, we had this prayer group, this circle going around the world. We brought you back. And I thought, oh, if I could get my hands on you. And then, and all of my dad's sitting behind, and all this chaos, and I can't move. And I guess my eyes were like saucers, and my daughter said, come on, you guys, she's freaking out. And she, one more time, Mom, you've been in a coma for 3 weeks. You're going to be fine. And I thought, fine, huh? I don't think so. But I couldn't say anything. So it took a week or so before they give you that machine you can put on there. So you talk like a robot. And,
Yeah.
yeah, so I was able to do that after a while. So I had been there 3 weeks. I was there another week in ICU, and then finally we talked the insurance company into allowing me to go to a rehab facility. I lost all my 38 pounds. What did I weigh? I weighed, oh God, it was like, I don't know, 86 pounds. So I had no
Yeah.
muscle mass, no muscle memory. And so I had to go rehab, and you learn how to crawl and button and swallow and, go up and down stairs, all that stuff. Very
Yeah.
humiliating. So I did that for a month and then left. And a wreck, just a wreck. All that's going around in your head. You don't want to, you think, oh man, I finally got through purgatory and I got to heaven. Now I got to come back to earth, get more sins, go back to hell. I don't think this is, where do you go?
Right.
Nobody will listen to you. My
Right.
parents, my family was horrified to think that I'd gone to hell. Oh, we thought you were such a good girl. I was. I don't know what happened. So I wrote and wrote and wrote. I was a writer. I just kept writing this story out. I thought if I could get it out of my head, it'll go away. And
Right.
it doesn't. And I went to the therapist. They said, well, we'll put PTSD on your chart, sweetheart. And, well, I don't know how to help you. So that, alcohol's a thought. Uh, but I kind of got my body back in shape. I had to do a lot of walking, thinking, and then this took 10 years, and finally the synchronicity started happening. And this person said, why don't you go to this? My wife's having I don't know, this lady that talks to the dead people. Maybe you might find that interesting. And I went to that, and then that sent me to this and sent me that, and find myself in Seattle at an IANDS meeting. Did you get the voice? There's something that sometimes that tells you to do stuff or suggest stuff. It's kind of like your conscience, but it's really
Mm.
stronger. Yeah, that's the voice.
Your
I've
inner voice.
actually been trying to work on that,
Yeah,
trying to
it's,
move
it's
myself out of the way so I
yeah.
can
You have
hear
to.
the
You give
direction.
up. You just listen. Just do it. Whatever they're telling you, because you won't give up. They drug me up to Seattle. So there it was. I couldn't believe it. There was, 50, 75 people up there that, formerly dead people. And I thought, wow, I found my tribe. So I sat and listened 2, 3 times to people give their story, with the rainbows and the puppies and the angels. And I thought, nah, that's not what happened to me, man. And so I'm creeping out of a meeting one time, and one of the head guys says, "Why are you always so grumpy when you're here? This is supposed to." I said, "Well, because that's not what happened to me." He says,
Right.
"Wait." And I said, "What?" And he says, "About 20% of the people have these distressing." I said, "Distressing? That's too small a word. Experiences, and nobody will talk about it." And I says, "There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
We're ashamed, we're scared. He says, "You're going to tell your story." I said, "No, I'm not." He says, "Yeah, you are." So they badgered me. And finally, I got up and I thought, "Okay, you want to hear the damn story? I'll tell you the damn story, all you people with your fluffy little angel stories." And so I went through the whole thing bit by bit. I mean, you could have heard a pin drop in that place. Eyes like bugged out. And we got finally to the end of the Christmas Carol. We got out. And I mean, they were with me every step of the way. And I thought, oh, well, that was kind of cool. Somebody listened. Somebody believes me. Somebody benefited from this. And so, I became the hell girl. I'd come to the meetings and stuff, and anybody wandered in that had something distressing. Go get Kathy. Go get the hell girl. She'll help. You know? So I thought, that's a dubious honor, but I'll take it. But
Yeah.
then that's when it started dawning on me that people weren't talking about this. And there was a hole where we fell into it and we're floundering all by ourselves. There's got to be something else. So somebody said, try Howard Storm's book. Howard is a member of IANDS. And then Nancy Evans Bush is the one that saved my life. She's written 3 books. She was in the void. Nancy Evans
Nancy
Bush. She
Evan. What
did
was her name
Dancing
again?
Through the
Sorry to interrupt. What was her name
Nancy.
again?
Her
Nancy
middle
Evan.
name is Evans,
Okay.
Evans Bush. And she's got 3 books: Dancing Through the Dark, The Buddha in Hell. They're marvelous. And it was like, oh, that's me, that's me, that's me. And she made it. She's a PhD. In fact, she's, I think, 91 now, and I've been following her, just like clinging to her for 15 years. And she finally wrote the foreword to my book. And I just entered
Awesome.
that in the book. Oh, it was like she's my guardian angel. So anyway, it started turning into a positive thing. And so what you're doing here is a positive thing. You may have found your purpose here, because
Right.
there's very few people that will take the DNDEs, we call it, distressing near death experiences, and give them a showcase, a place to talk and share. So it took me quite a while because I was in the minority in that great big organization, but I'm the itch they had to scratch, and so they finally gave me a little show. I found another guy, Daniel Endy, who thought, he likes a challenge, so he says, "I'll help her." So we started I think it's the 3rd Thursday, which is tomorrow, right? We have a meeting tomorrow. So you go to iands.org.
INDS dot.
IANDS, IANDS, IANDS.org. And then you
Okay.
go to events at the top, and then you go sharing groups, and then you find the distressing one with my little face on it. And then it's free to join, and then you try and get in. It's 5 o'clock Pacific time, and it's an hour and a half, and it goes really fast. And we got a lot of regulars and a lot of new people that come in. They'd love to hear your story. It's so freeing to finally be able to tell that story to somebody who believes you, understands you, says, welcome. This is what
You
happened too.
you just did that for me. I have to say, and I have to thank you. And I know it's all right. So I saw that podcast. I don't know which one it was, but the story, I mean, obviously grabbed me because there's so many bits and pieces that I hadn't even shared with other people because I
Yep.
was too scared to. You know,
You shared
we're
more
talking
today than
about
you had
gang sexual
previously,
assault.
actually.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and what you did is when I heard that story that someone else had been there and you said the 20% are near hell experiences, it gave more gravity, or it made me believe more in my own story, you know, because I'm my biggest self-doubter because I can't talk to somebody about it. I talked to Dennis about it, and God love him, you know, he listens and he does his
Understand
best.
straight up. Yeah.
Right. And it's one thing to ask somebody to believe that you had a near death experience because a lot of them cannot even get to that idea. Right.
Right.
Because they want to know. The immediate questions are like, did you flatline? Were you dead? Blah, blah, blah. And you're like,
Yes.
I don't know. And these are all like qualifying questions. And they're
Yeah.
trying to like figure out what it really was. Oh, that must have been the drugs. That must have been at your
Yeah.
worst point. You
I
must
will
have
say
died
this
and like all this kind of stuff. But what you,
watching this as an audience member, just to represent the audience members, I will say it's amazing how remarkably amazing how there were so many small details that were very similar between the two stories. And you guys hadn't talked
and I've
before.
never shared my,
You shared more today than you
never,
had
I've
before.
never actually,
Yeah.
yeah, it, Kathy, you kind of set me free in a way, and you
Good.
gave me the confidence to talk more about what had happened. I was able to talk more to even my therapist about what happened, because even talking to your therapist, they're looking at you like, okay, I'll do my best to help you here, but I don't have experience in that.
Right.
You
Right.
know, they'll try to empower you, be like, that sounds like you know, like an experience that meant something. It sounds like there's a lot of gravity to it. Maybe we should explore this. Maybe we explore that. And I'm like, no, I need to know if I like really went or not. You know, like I need to talk to a like-minded person. When I heard yours, what you did for me and what we're trying to do for other people is you planted the seed that I'm not isolated. I'm not alone. There's other people, you know, who have actually walked through this and are expressing it verbally, because I don't know about you. I went through that experience. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah.
Am I supposed to do something with it? Like, and it took a long time because really I wanted it to go away. I wanted it
Yes.
to be like, okay, that's over. Nothing, it happened, but you know, I'm going to quantify it, put it here, and that's what happened. I can move away from it. But it's just like it continues to tick. I've run
Right.
into people even in Atlanta, and you know, that voice talks and all that kind of stuff. I ended up talking to this guy at one point when I was doing deliveries about 2 years ago. He looks like he's having a bad day. I don't know how we started talking. He tells me that his wife died the previous month.
Mhm.
I didn't want to share my story, but I felt like maybe it could help. So I asked permission. I'm like, may I share something with you? I
Mhm.
don't know if it'll help, but it's an experience I went through. And I'm able to share the experience, at least the heaven part, and
Yeah.
about the love, and about how in heaven, you don't actually have to worry about loving yourself, because there's so much love that people are putting towards you that you just join in and you start pushing that love out to everybody else. You know, it's
Mhm.
not about you. It's like a collective thing. Dennis tells a
Yeah, the
little story
chopstick
about
story.
the idea of the difference between, yeah, the difference between
It makes
heaven
it,
and
it really brings
hell.
it to light for you guys talking about it. Can I say it? Is that right?
Yeah, it's yeah, go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
All right. So it's actually a pastor from Topeka, Kansas, that I learned this when I was a long time ago. But he did a lot of ministries in the Eastern cultures, Oriental cultures, and one of the things he was trying to teach us is the difference between heaven and hell that he learned in all his ministries was in hell it was a huge banquet with all this great food. It all tastes, smells good. It all looks good. It's perfect foods. Everybody's around the table. They're trying to eat, but they can only eat with these really long chopsticks, and the chopsticks are too long to feed themselves. So you're frustrated, you're hungry, you're angry, you have all those bad thoughts. And then in heaven, it's the exact same banquet, and it's full of all that same wonderful food, but it's also with the same chopsticks. But instead of trying to feed themselves, they're feeding the neighbor across the table. So there's joy, there's sharing, and there's love. And it always stuck with me. I
Right.
love it as a definition. And your guys' story just
Right.
gave me chills, bringing it all back together and making it all full circle. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what I've garnered from all of this, Cam, and all the years of kicking it around with other people. If you buy into the whole thing that we start in heaven and souls are just pieces of God and God wants to experience, and we choose to come down and we want to learn patience, we want to learn kindness, whatever it is. And we go with our soulmates and we change. We do this innumerable times because eternity,
Mhm.
is quite a long time. So we do this a lot. And I love to say to people who have me on their podcast, we're probably soulmates. And that we were going to come down this time and say, well, we're not going to have a whole lot of time. You're going to be here. I'm going to be there. But let's get together for an hour. Okay. Let's
Oh,
just
wow.
touch base, say hi, and just know that we're there for each other. And then we'll see you when we get home. So
Love it.
I really believe that. But I also believe that we are the brave souls. I'm told that Earth is the toughest gig. There are all kinds of places in the universes that we can go and reincarnate, and we do. But this is like going to the biggest, wildest amusement park you can imagine with the biggest roller coasters. They're scare the shit out of you. You got all this stuff going on. You say, I want to go to there. I want to go there because I want to feel that joy. I want to feel that pain. I want to feel that excitement. I want to feel that hurt. I'm going to live large this time. And we
Right.
choose to come here. And then so we say, what was I thinking when we get down here? But it's short. And when you're in eternity, 100 years looks like a nothing. But we get down here and it's a long time. But once we realize that, that's the really get out of jail free card. And we can know then I don't ever feel like a victim anymore. When crap happens to me, I think, boy, what did I plan that for? There's got to be a reason. And you usually can find
Look
one.
for the
And another
silver
thing I
lining.
love about that, yeah, because I wanted to learn something. And what you usually learn is empathy. So if you
Mm.
like, I had a baby that died when she was 2 days old. Horrible, horrible situation. But I have that empathy now. When I run into a lady who's lost a baby, I can say, I know how you feel. And
Mm.
they feel so comforted by finding someone else like we just did that has
Yeah.
experienced what you have. And that's so much better. So there's a reason for all this stuff we're going through. And then when we go to heaven and get the life review, we get to see how we did. And that's all. And most people say, I'm not coming here again. That's for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's too tough here. But who knows? When we get on the other side, it all looks so easy. But your purpose, you're finding your purpose is you found me, and I've got the sharing group. You've got a podcast. I mean, bingo! It just starts falling into line. And I know you have to be like,
Yeah.
I'm 79 years old. It's like, you're God. Oh, now I got to get all this stuff done. But you're on my list, so I get to cross you off.
I know, and you don't understand like the impact that it's had just to talk to you today. I'm sure Dennis can see it on me too, but it's just
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's so comforting to know to talk to somebody else who actually believes in their heart and soul that it happened because it's a real experience. And like you said, the hell part is traumatic. Like you do get PTSD from it. You do
Mhm.
experience a sexual assault. You do like at its worst, like just total aggression and laughter during it. Like
Oh,
it's
hate.
just
Yeah, hate.
and it's just hate. It's filled with hate. It's filled with anger, and all these
Mhm.
people are wanting to hurt you. And I think I've almost contemplated in a way they're almost trying to get you to turn into them.
With them. Right.
They want you to lose hope and you start hurting other people and finding pleasure in it. And it
Right.
was
That's like the
just
ultimate mob
it's such
mentality
a
kind of thought process. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like that's a
Yeah.
spiritual mob mentality. Wow. We're so built, even on this earth, we're so
Well,
built that way as well, you know? So many similars are with
mhm.
that.
Well, there's good energy and there's bad energy, and we've got
Yeah.
free will. It all comes down to free will, and we can choose to go either direction. But God is just all love, and I don't think there is a hell. I think we manifested that because we believed in it. We believed when we died maybe we weren't such good people or whatever, we needed to go through it. Or for me too, I think we chose to have that experience so that we could come back and tell other people about it, and then also bring those people the comfort like I just helped you. we're coming back to help people. And when I did get back, you're a squirrel for a long time. And finally I was said to God, I don't want to do that again. Come on, give me a break. The thou shalt nots are not working for me. I need something positive to do. I do not want to have that experience again. So I got these words. They came in, the voice pounded them into me. You be loving and kind, merciful, forgiving, encouraging, grateful, non-judgmental, and useful. Useful's a big
Mhm.
one. And that's what you're doing now. You've got your chance.
We're
You've
not
got,
here to
you
judge. We're here
can
to love.
work your,
Is a simple one that's pounded in my head all the time.
that's right.
I'm not here to judge. I'm here to love.
Right. Right. So all we have to do is those things. And if you can't remember anything else, just be loving and kind. It changes everything around you. It just
Absolutely.
brings the energy down to a nice calm place. When somebody's being mean or whatever, if you just be kind, I'm sorry you're having a bad day. I'm sorry that I'm, oh well, oh no, no, no. I mean, it just changes everything.
And
I
seeing
totally
somebody on
agree.
that
I
level,
totally
they'll
agree.
feel it, they'll accept it, it's. I just shared a video of that somebody doing that to a homeless guy. Like, just what's your name? Let's talk to him. Let's address who you are. Have you ever, I love you, man. Has anybody told you I love you lately? And he's like, no. He's like, can I pray for you? He
Mhm,
goes,
mhm.
yeah, pray for me. And all of a sudden, this whole transformation happened on the side of the street between this
Right.
podcaster guy and this homeless man. And it went from F you, go
Exactly.
away to, will you pray for me? Just because he said, I love you.
Yeah.
Like, our
Yeah.
souls are dying to be
And it's
accepted and to be
amazing.
seen and to be loved. Yeah, the recipe's
Be
too easy. Now,
seen.
putting
That's
into
big.
practice is
And,
hard.
and
But so is going to the gym.
Well,
So is
yeah, but
prayer.
everything
So is the
just say, okay,
guitar.
I'm going to be loving and kind. I'm just going to work on loving and kind today, no matter
Yeah.
what. You'll get lots of opportunity.
Peace,
I'm
hope, and
finding
love
one
are
of
the
the best
greatest
ways
things.
that I'm able to do that. Yeah, I find something that I'm trying to do is just get out of the way, you know?
Mhm.
Um, Lots of times, like just talking to somebody, like you said, it's not about what I have to say a lot of the time. It's about it's about being there in the ministry of presence and just listening. And like you said, empathizing and being like, hey, but I'm sorry you're going through that. And just sometimes like hearing that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We recently had someone on our channel kind of get on and start posting some stuff. And it was very visible that this person was going through something
Mhm.
and they wanted to tear down what we had said about God and whatever it
Mhm.
was. And that's fine because what it actually is doing is showing a person going through something who's
Mhm.
seeking. They're trying to figure
Mhm.
out what's going on. And if they're angry, sorry, I've been there. And it's a bummer, you know,
Sure.
and you're living in it and all that kind of stuff. And to anyone out there suffering right now, like you're not alone, you know. And I'm just so glad Kathy was able to come on and bless us with her story. And with your permission, Kathy, I'm going to start reaching out to you and getting more information about
Sure.
this this near
I
death experience I had, and really
Yeah.
starting to. I don't know. You gave me such a gift today. You gave me such a
Great.
gift. It's
Great.
just such
Awesome.
a blessing, and I am
I'm so
so
happy.
thankful. Yeah,
Oh, I'm
absolutely so
happy.
thankful.
Grateful to see the big glow on your face right now.
Yeah, I can't help it. It's unbelievable. It's like it's been 10 years. It's been
Yeah.
10 years, you know,
That's
where you're
how
just
long
like,
it took me. 10 years. Yeah.
I'm just evaluating on my own. And finally, you just get to the point you're like, God, I obviously don't know what you want me to do with this. Just do it for me. Like,
Mhm.
just tell me what to do. I'll do it. Just, I, I'm, I have to separate my interests. It's not about me. It's about and when I walk in that, that's when you feel the best. When you
Mhm.
empathize with someone, although it's a tough situation, when you walk away from it, you know that you contributed to what their process and the healing or whatever they are on that journey. And you walk away from it and if you let yourself, you know it wasn't you that was actually there.
Right.
You know that you were able to kind of empty yourself out, let that person have their
Let the
moment
spirit come through. Yeah.
and let the spirit come through. Yeah.
And I'm gonna look up some of these other
And
names, like Howard Storm. What a name to have, like a book about
Oh,
troubling
yeah.
waters, and his
I've got
last
his
name is
book.
Storm.
Yeah, as well as yeah, and he became he was an atheist when he began. Now he's a minister.
Wow.
I've got the book up there. I can't see. It's too far away, but that's the only book I think he wrote. But yeah, he did the exact same thing with the sexual assault, and they just ripped him apart, just ripped him. Yeah, and he couldn't. Being an atheist, he didn't know how to call out to God or anything, but he could remember things with. Knew no prayers, so he would say something like, uh, I don't know, he would sing songs. Jesus loves
I
me. That's what he's got. Jesus loves me, that I know. And they started backing up, and he thought, "Uh-oh, I got something here." So did this.
Wow.
I don't know, it was the national anthem or something. Had "God Bless America," and then they moved back a little bit more. Yeah, yeah, he was cool. Even as far back as Betty Eadie with "Embraced by the Light," that was the one I read before all that happened. And I got to meet her at an IANDS meeting years later, and I had the book, and I whipped it out so she could sign it. And it was like 25 years later. And she was, "I don't believe this." Yeah, but she had a great experience, and that's what they focused on. But when she did have problems with demons, and they followed her back, and she was
really,
in her bed recovering, and they started coming into the room, and she was screaming, and found a way to turn them around. But
wow.
uh, you feel better after you read those things. It's so weird. Yeah, Nancy Evans Bush is not a scary one, but it's good. She's deep. She's wonderful. Great lady.
Uh,
The thing that seems to happen when you come back is you get away from religion and you become spiritual, not religious. That's becoming a big thing. Most people in I think would tell you that they give up religion. There's too many rules, man-made rules. They're
yeah.
negative,
Right.
and that's not what God is. God is just love. There is no. Everybody goes back to
Absolutely.
heaven. That's where you're from. Oh, that's our home. Unless you have the free will and say, "No, I don't want to go there." Fine, go make your own hell.
Yeah.
What's the joke? Like God gave us the answer to life, and it's love. That's
Mhm.
the key.
Mhm.
Love,
Yeah.
empathy, understanding. And then the devil said, "Okay, well, let's talk about religion then." And so, is that so man-made with rules and like the classic, you have to talk to this person to have access to God. That is not the way it works at all. You know
No,
what I
it
mean? It's
As
all
long as
doesn't.
you're
around us
talking
all
about
the
jokes,
time. You
as
don't
long as
have
you're
to
talking about jokes, I
classify
have
it.
one more joke for you too that
Yeah.
I would been thinking of as you guys were telling your stories.
Okay.
And I've never thought about this joke for shoot 30, 40 years even. But it was like really quick. A guy dies, he goes to hell, he's walking through the rooms with the devil, and the devil goes, You can pick from one of these three doors. He opens the first door, everybody's sitting around on chairs drinking coffee with their ankles and poop. And he goes to the second door, and they're like waist high, drinking their coffee, but they're a little more uncomfortable. Get to the third door, and they're all just barely even able to tread water, and all this water of poop. And he goes, "Well, give me that first door. That seems like the best one." So he goes back to the first door, and right as he sits down and starts taking his first sip of the coffee, the whistle blows and goes, "Break over, back on your heads."
That's terrible. That is terrible, but it makes sense.
Well,
It
you were
makes
talking about
sense.
all the,
And
Oh,
I
the
think
dear.
that's
doors,
a
the rooms,
great
the lights
way.
back on and off. And anyway, yeah, just a great way to finish it.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Kathy's near-death journey from hell to heaven and back. Her story shows us that even in the darkest moments, love, healing, and purpose are possible. If her journey resonated with you, like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment. Your story could help someone else find hope. So stay resilient, and we'll see you in the next episode.